What happens though, I think, for creatives is like once you try a few things and they don't get responses so quick, or like the response that you think it should get, then you just start going, oh, maybe I shouldn't try anymore. You kind of start shrinking up and you're like, maybe I should just blend in. Maybe I should just do what the kids are
Do
into.
what's safe.
Do what's safe.
Yeah.
And you start doing what's safe. And the moment you're too safe, I think you lose your edge. Like
That's real. Yeah.
once you're creating with safety, you take that thing off of you that made you so special in the first place. And this is what I talked a lot about in the article I wrote for DJ Booth was like, don't get careful when you're creating. And I think in a lot of ways through my own emotional turmoil and that people buying my records has a lot to do with whether or not my family eats. That's a tough position to be in because you're like, I want to take risk, but at the same time, I want my records to still sell because I want to be able to provide for my family. And like, so this is the tension. And I think it takes a courage to continue to push. And, that's why I'm more passionate about, what do you call it? More innovative and like new records than just making what's cool and putting it out. So,
yeah, I think what happens when you do become safe is that now people don't hate what you make or love it. They're just like indifferent towards it. And I think that's the worst thing as a creative that can happen because I would rather the two polar opposites. I would rather for you to be like, what did Kanye say? Everybody feels a way about Ye, but at least they feel something. And I think when you just fall into that average, when you fall into the middle, because you're just doing what's safe and what works, man, I think you just take the life really out of your art. But, that's easier said than done because it takes a lot of courage to do very different things. And I'm reminded of artists like Bob Dylan. First of all, Bob Dylan comes out in a time where like you really should have a beautiful voice if you want to be an artist. And that dude comes out with like a very unorthodox singing voice. And I remember reading I picked up this Rolling Stone like special edition thing where I think Sam Cooke told his brother, yo, do you know that everything's gonna change now? And his brother's like, what are you talking about? And he was referring to Bob Dylan. He said, it's not only gonna be about how beautiful the voice is, but about how honest it is. Or something like that, something to that effect. And I'm like, yo, how courageous do you have to be to come out and be like, well, isn't it like, and I'm like, cause like, I don't know how to sing. I could probably do one of them joints, but I feel crazy going out there, like just singing like that.
Yeah.
And then I think about him too, when he first started introducing like electronic instruments into his music, and like people were literally up in arms about it. Like there's videos on YouTube that you can find people booing him at all his shows, walking out of his shows, calling him a sellout, saying that he sold his soul because like Bob Dylan, like when he first came out, people were like, yo, he's a prophet, all this stuff. Yo, just because this man had drums and an electric guitar. But this was crazy. And there's videos of like Bob Dylan in green rooms like, yo, man, I just don't want to keep getting booed anymore. Like, it's tough to go out there and get booed so much every night. People walking out.
They
would
paid,
interview
though.
people on the way out.
Boo.
Yeah, well, because they wanted to hear like the other stuff, and they would interview people when they were on their way out, and they were like, yo, saying the nastiest things. And what's crazy is those records are some of his biggest records now. Like, yo, there was one instance where I think he was in a stadium and they booed, and like a minute later, they were like cheering. Like, yeah, it was just so weird, man. But what I think about is like courage. Like courage, man. It's having the courage to just try new things and put them out. Because I think Steve Jobs said, great artists ship. It's one thing like, yo, I tried this new thing. It's so crazy, but I'm not going to put it out. I'm too shook. It's like you've done half the job. Like, yo, I commend you, my brother, for doing something crazy. You just did a yodel hip hop track. That's wild. You know what I'm saying? Like
Summer 2020. Yodel joint.
But I'm like, you got to finish the job and like actually put that joint out. So, it's the same way. Like if I had to name this episode, it's courage, because it took courage for him to just say, let's do this. It takes courage. Yo, this was bugged out. It takes courage to make something that's so different, that's so weird, and put it out. And it also takes courage to put something that is not that loaded, that is just dope and it's simple and it's not innovative, and put it out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you want to be that kind of guy, because or that kind of artist rather, because I think we need all different forms of expression. Sometimes, you know, simplicity is great.